I'm speaking to you from Dinosaur Hall here at Carnegie Museum, and we're in front of a very famous fossil skeleton. We're going to talk with Dr. Craig C. Black, who is the curator of the vertebrate fossils. Could you tell us about what we're standing in front of here, sir?
Yes, I'd be happy to. This is, as you said, probably the most famous dinosaur at Carnegie Museum, and also one of the most famous in the world. This dinosaur was discovered in what is now the Dinosaur National Park near Vernal, Utah, in 1903. And a small section of the tail was found at that point by Earl Douglas, who was a curator in the department at that time. Andrew Carnegie had gotten very interested in dinosaurs after a newspaper article in one of the New York papers. And he immediately told Douglas to go out and find one. Douglas did. And for a period of about 15 to 18 years, Carnegie Museum worked the dinosaur quarry in Utah. And this was one of the first specimens to come out. It was called Diplodocus Carnegii. It is one of the large sauropods. It lived about 150 million years ago. The total length was probably about 60 feet. This specimen, once it had gotten back to the museum and been prepared, before it was mounted, molds were made of every bone in this skeleton. And then casts were made from these, and replicas of this animal were distributed throughout the world to various major museums. They were sent to Berlin, to London, to Paris, to South America, so that Diplodocus Carnegii has gotten quite a world tour. And because of this, it is one of the most famous dinosaurs known today. It is a rather lightly built dinosaur compared to some of the other sauropods. It has a rather delicate appearance, particularly through the vertebral column. It's nowhere near as massive as several of the other sauropod genera. But it makes a very nice skeleton. And I think a lot of people in Pittsburgh, particularly among the school-age children, have fallen in love with it through many generations. Now, living at the same time with Diplodocus was another dinosaur, a member of an entirely different order of dinosaurs called the Ornithischian dinosaurs. This is Stegosaurus, this rather weird animal with these large, heavy plates down his vertebral column. Stegosaurus was a herbivore, as was probably Diplodocus. And where he was not large enough to avoid most predators, he's, as you can see, much smaller, he developed the system of plates along his back and a series of spikes on his tail with which to defend himself. His back is very highly arched, as you can see. His front limbs extremely short, and his hind limbs raised way up, perching his tail up in the air, so to speak. Now, this animal was also found at the dinosaur quarry. It has been found at many other places in the country, in Colorado and Wyoming. This was found in association with Diplodocus. Also found in that same locality were carnivorous dinosaurs, which preyed on these herbivores, and one or two other types of these large sauropods. The skeleton of Stegosaurus is much lighter in construction than that of the larger sauropods. The vertebral column is very light. You see none of these processes sticking out here and up above the neck, which you see on the sauropod dinosaurs for muscle attachment.
Well, even though he's comparatively small, how much did he weigh?
He probably weighed 8 to 10 tons, but he didn't have the problem that the larger dinosaurs had.
Now, all of these are reptiles, aren't they?
Yes, they are. All of these are in the reptilia. They're in two different orders, as I say, and one of the major distinctions between these two groups is the way the pelvis is put together. The Ornithischian dinosaur pelvis as you might suspect from the word itself, is a bird-like pelvis. There are 4 bones in it, whereas in the sauropod, or saurischian pelvis, there are only 3 bones in the pelvis.
Was anything discovered to tell you anything about their eggs?
Very little is known about the eggs of these dinosaurs. There is one occurrence in Europe where they found some sauropod dinosaur eggs, and then there is one in a later geological period for some of the horned dinosaurs, a very famous discovery made by Ditmars in Mongolia, some of the horned dinosaur eggs. But we know very little about the size, the shape of the egg, or actually how large the hatchlings themselves were.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Black. That is our story in the magic carpet from here. Let's see where the magic carpet will take us next.